Welcome to the 87th episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense anime podcast. Today, we are covering the 11th week of winter 2019 anime season. And as always, we include timestamps in the description of the YouTube video and the podcast feed if you only want to hear about, like, the one fucking show you watch or whatever the fuck. I don't know what you do. Yeah, because we spoil everything. Anyway, my name is Kat, and sticking with the theme of our names in Kemurikusa, Leo is now Rio, Bcom is now Arcom, and I am Ra. Okay, no. Fuck you. Also, with here, these assholes, Leo and Bcom.
Hi, Rat. Leo wrote that, and that I saw that earlier today, and I was like, that is like the most fucking brilliant joke Leo's ever written for
Dude,
this.
I was really proud. Good. I was telling a couple buddies at work, and they thought it was pretty funny. I was like, cool.
It is pretty good.
I was really happy about that one. Holy shit.
You're welcome.
Yeah, everybody in Kemurikusa has got the R names.
Jesus.
Even one more this episode, and we actually learn why. So look forward to that.
That's what made me think of the joke. I was like, another R name? Jesus. And it's funny because Rio and Arcom actually works. And I was like, oh, the cat would be, oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
Any nonsense,
That's
guys?
Pretty good.
So I'll talk about a little bit of nonsense, and like I didn't go or anything, but I watched a lot of the Star Wars Celebration stuff, which got me pretty hyped up about Star Wars because they had the trailer for the final movie 9 of the like big saga, and then they had the trailer for like the Mandalorian like live action TV show, which looked really cool, and there was like a leaked trailer from the audience because like Star Wars didn't like officially release this.
Okay, but whenever that happens, I always wonder, like, is it really a leak, or is it, like, them leaking it, quote-unquote?
I mean, those videos stayed up on YouTube for, like, a long-ass time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I think they would prefer to have, like, a full-quality version of it, but, like, they know that people get excited by just, like, oh, it's the thing, you're not supposed to see it yet, but it's out there. But it really did look really cool. Like, they had Giancarlo Esposito, who was, like, great as a villain in Breaking Bad on the show. And, like, Werner Herzog is, like, this, like, German-accented, like, evil bad guy. And I'm like, holy shit, this looks fucking great. So I'm really excited for that TV show. Maybe even more so than the final movie, honestly. So, but
okay,
yeah.
Yeah, well, I always think, like, someone leaking it in 2019, leaking something, is similar to someone in the subway going, oh no, he took his clothes off, and everyone like turns to look.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just a way to get people to look at it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a viral marketing technique for sure to like let that happen. And yeah, but basically also like the one other thing that came out of Celebration was like, oh, we knew this, but like they released a trailer for what's going to be the final season of the cartoon Clone Wars, like season 7. I had never watched Clone Wars, and so like after all this Star Wars hype, I was like, I'm going to finally pull off this Band-Aid. I've been putting this off for like fucking years and years. I'm going to start watching Clone Wars and see if it's actually good like people say, or if it's total garbage. And I'm half of the way through season 3, and to be fair, half of the way through season 3 is where people say the show starts to get good. But up until now, it is complete shit. It is so bad. It is like unbelievably fucking bad. Do not watch like the first 2 seasons of Clone Wars. Like maybe an episode here or there has some like interesting lore or like a cool idea, but like most of it is just so terrible writing wise that I would say like please steer clear. Like I usually try to talk about stuff I like for nonsense, but like I want to save people time. Like don't make
save
my
them
mistakes.
from the hurt.
Don't watch this show. Just go through like there's like all these online guides about like what are the good episodes. So watch the good episodes. Don't watch the whole show. It's not worth it.
Nice.
Anyway, what do you guys got for nonsense?
I'll go next. So we had Bob's getting married, so we threw his bachelor party.
Hey, Bob.
Does that mean he's like moving out and you're gonna be all alone?
Well, the wedding venue has been canceled twice, so we will see.
Interesting.
Get speculation on your own roommate's wedding.
Message that was sent was it will be postponed until further notice. So, yeah, so we'll see.
It's always fun.
Anyways, there's really only two things I want to say about. One of them is Bob doing something dumb, which is not new. But on the way up there, I was riding with two of my other buddies, and one of them was like, "You have a podcast?" And I'm just like, "How do you not know? You're like one of my only friends who actually still watches anime regularly." So we start talking about anime. I'm like, "All right, well, what are you watching this season? What's your favorite?" And he fucking says Shield Hero. Oh
well.
If he wasn't a 6-foot jacked black man, I would have reached from that back seat and slapped him in the head.
Yeah, okay, I will say Brains has encouraged me to keep watching it. It did get better. It's still a shit show. It did get slightly better.
I will say I've watched every episode of Shield Hero. I'm completely caught up. I still think it's total fucking trash.
It's trash, but it's like
it has some moments.
It's like slightly better.
But like, oh man, I think I'm going to talk about it in like our season wrap up. But like, basically, like the way he gets stronger is like he embraces his inner rage, and that's how he gets
like his
strong.
Inner Trump. His inner Trump. I know. I was like, this is basically him being like, oh, my anger of being cast down into the. It's almost just like Trump and all of his fans personified.
Yeah,
it's like,
so
it really is.
Of course, I'm like, what about his hate for women? What about the slavery stuff? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
you know, he has some pretty weak arguments, but I was just like, whatever, fuck it. What else are you watching this season? He's like, well, I'm watching the Promised Neverland. He's like, I don't really care
That's
for
pretty
it.
good. There you go.
I was like, I was like, why? I don't think he gets it. I think he's suffering what Kat's suffering from Kemurikusa. Just doesn't really get it.
Sure.
Not
Whatever. After that, I was like, I need to be a bigger influence on him.
What are you gonna tell him to watch Buso Shoujo Machiavellians? and Dodoreku? Gotta get on these great shows. Anyway.
Just slowly descend into madness.
Asked him, I was like, well, are you watching Dororo or anything? And he's like, he said he's has like seen that it's an anime, but he hasn't checked it out. I was like, damn man, you suck.
It's probably because it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't see the stuff that's on Amazon. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, it's hard to like get the quality stuff with seasonal, like because we don't know when you start watching it if it actually is good or not. It takes some time. It's easier if you really want to refine their taste to like give them some of the old stuff and be like, eat this. This is nutrition, and then
all right,
refine their palate that way.
Okay, into that conversation. Let me tell you about this. He did a bunch of stupid stuff, but this was probably my favorite because I was the only one witness to it. We were like, this is pretty late in the night. I think this is when we were going to our last stop. And we're walking across the street, and Bob, he's walking in front of me. I think I'm in the back, and he just goes to put his both hands on the ground, and I can tell he's going to try to do a cartwheel, but it was so funny. So he's walking, he uses that form of movement, puts both hands on the ground, and simply just like hops and then crumbles to the ground. I mean, it was such a bad drunken cartwheel. And then like everybody else hears the noise and they turn around like, oh shit, Bob fell, you okay? And I'm like, Bob did not fall. Bob just tried to do a fucking cartwheel. And then they all start laughing and
he's like an active drunk. He's like one of those drunks where he's like, I'm gonna now perform feats of acrobatics.
Oh, he's crazy. Okay, here, I'll tell the second story too. Also, so we're at our last place. I'm standing there talking with him. He's so drunk he can't even hold on to beer. So he drops his beer and hits the floor. And I'm like, well, shit, that happened, you know? And he bends down and starts picking up the glass. I'm like, Bob, stop picking up the fucking glass. Stand up. Stand up, dude. So I'm literally like pulling him up. And then like, you know, somebody works there, comes over with the broom and dustpan. Bob just takes it from him and starts cleaning it up. And I'm like, I had to hit one of our other buddies. I was like, fucking help me here. And like, so he physically restrains Bob as I take back the broom and dustpan and give it back to the dude. And then we went back to the hotel.
I mean, that's just a sign of him being a good person. Like, I could see myself doing that. Like, I have actually tried to pick up broken glass when I'm drunk.
Yeah,
I'm
when
like,
Bob gets drunk, he cleans. All right, okay, third Bob story. This is the very
Holy
famous
shit,
one.
how many stories do you have, Leo?
Dude, we can make a
So it sounds like
podcast
Bob is the
about
person to drink with.
Bob stories. So we're all in fucking, I don't remember, Florida. There's like 8 or 9 of us. We're staying in the apartment. We all have fun and we go to sleep that night. Well, at just like randomly 3 in the morning, we hear fucking a huge glass pane shatter. So we're all getting up. We go into the kitchen. There's Bob. He's cleaning the fridge and the glass panel for the shelf. He had dropped it.
Oh, no. And it takes a lot to break that too. What did he do? Hold it above his head and drop it?
Well, it like sits in the frame. So he just took it out and like went to like, I guess, lean it against the wall, and then it just fell out.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Man,
God.
you have no idea how many Bob stories we have. They are endless. But what about you, Kat?
Well, I went to go see a play last weekend, and it was like a joking version of Hamlet. So it's just like, just constant jokes, like pretending that they're basically doing a shit job, but it's on purpose. And it was fun. And then after we went and had tacos and like fancy margaritas with the crew, like the theater crew, and that was fun. But the place we went, it's supposed to be like a fancy taco place. Like, have you ever been to one of those like fancy taco places where they're like a la carte and each taco is like $5 and you have to like pick which ones? And the tacos they bring out, I'm not even kidding you, are probably about the size of a pinky finger. These tiny fucking tacos. I'm like, what is this?
That's a fucking racket is what that is.
I know. I was like,
that's a ripoff.
$5 for one of for each of these? No. I was so pissed off.
I would have said that. I would have seen that and just been like, you guys just want to go to Taco Bell or something and get some food.
But their margaritas were really good. And like their stupid stools, it's one of those places where the stool is like taller than you standing up, and so you have to like hop onto it like you're saddling a horse or something. And then
Cat is very short.
I'm not that short. And
5'6". That's actually on the higher side.
I know what the types of stools you're talking about.
Yeah. And so then when you're on it, like I'm not a coordinated person, and so like I'm just wobbling because I'm like on my second margarita, so I'm like tee. And I just keep almost falling off the fucking stool and then like having someone grab me before I hit. And then I'd be like, oh, I need to get off the stool. And I'd like stand like next to the stool. And then eventually I'd be like, I'm tired, and sit down. And I would like repeat this. And then, I don't know. So that was my night.
Nice.
Apparently I never learn. I don't know. Yeah.
That's riding that stool was like riding a bull for Cat. She just couldn't stay on.
She's just like, yeah. I mean, I don't have a horse to ride anymore, so gotta ride that stool, I guess. So.
All right, should we get into?
But I just thought I'd let everyone know that like those a la carte taco places, check the reviews first because you don't want to get a pinky-sized taco.
Check the pictures. Yeah, check the pictures and like make sure there's like a banana for reference or something.
Yeah,
banana for reference.
Oh my god. Oh,
all right, so should we get into anime?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, episode's 11 this week. So Leo, take us into Mob Psycho.
Okay, episode 11 of 13. We will be doing 2 episodes next podcast.
Yeah.
Next
so
podcast,
finishing it off.
Yep. Guidance Psychic Sensor. So it's just a very short intro with them like wrapping up the fight from the last episode, and that's all that happens. It's honestly kind of unnecessary. And then Sho and Ritsu arrive at the tower to be confronted by the teleporting guy, Shimazaki. And pretty much from this point on, I just refer to people by their powers because there's too many of them and too many names.
That's fair.
And like Ritsu lets Sho go ahead so he can battle the teleporter guy. And Ritsu is just basically getting destroyed. It's awful. Sho makes it up the stairs and like he defeats the guy who like can control the electronics in like 2 seconds, and you never see him again. But Mob and Dimple have also shown up to the area and come across like some guys that are like robbing a convenience store, and Mob gets pissed about it, and he's like giving them this like stern speech and everything. But then the plant guy like shows up, and it's kind of, they portray it as like Mob is actually kind of struggling against him. He's a pretty strong guy. And then we go back to Ritsu, who is still getting demolished. I mean, the people can take punches in the show. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, and then like while he's fighting him, Teleport Dude ends up taking like a sewer cover to the head. And it turns out the former Claw members and Taruki show up, and like they begin fighting the guy. And you just really, really need to go watch this fight because it's pretty cool and pretty fun. And
the fights actually are animated well. I'll give the show
they're
that.
super well animated this episode. That was basically what was keeping me interested.
I just can't care because I'm like, I don't care about either of these people in this fight, but they are animated well.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, the next 2 episodes are very well animated also. And what this fight boils down to is basically them not getting anywhere with Teleporter Dude. And like he's just like fending everything off. But then like Taruki isn't going to give up and tells everybody to like launch even more attacks to try to get into his blind spot. And then this episode jumps around a whole lot. So we go back to Mob, who's like still struggling with Plant Guy when Matsuo shows up. And if you guys don't remember who he is, he like can control evil spirits or something like that. And so like
I hate when shows do that too, by the way. They jump around all the time.
Yeah, this episode was all over the place. I don't think I've ever written this many paragraphs before. And so like he unleashes his spirits and like it overpowers the lower guys, but then like the plant guy easily stops him. And like Matsuo gets thrown to the ground and like a vial comes out of his pocket. And like one of the goons picks it up and Matsuo's like begs him not to open it because it's a spirit not even he can control. And the goon's like, whatever, we have plant guy with us. Nobody can defeat us. So he like breaks it and out pops Mogami. If you guys don't remember who he was, it was that episode that Kat didn't watch that Bcom and I had to tell from memory.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that dude.
Stop bringing that up. Shh.
It's so funny you watched the wrong one and didn't even realize
I know.
it.
Well, because you remember, I was like, it's weird because it feels like there's a lot of flashbacks this episode. I just don't understand. And you're just like, oh.
So he just destroys everybody. And like he even like takes over plants and like he forms like a giant one out of them and easily wins. And then like Bcom had like Mob had a little speech. Bcom really liked it. What was that?
Yeah, because he told like Mogami or like the tree thing, whatever it is, like that you need to have faith in one another in order to get through life. Like you can't just live life always expecting the worst in everyone else because like society just breaks down and won't function if you don't believe in each other on some level. Like even if you're like a little suspicious of people's like motives and stuff, like in order for anything to work at all, like you can't live like Mogami. So I like that Mob like is kind of like preaching that philosophy.
Yeah, then like Mogami like fades away, but they're not sure if he's like actually passed on yet or not. So he could, if they do a season 3, he could potentially pop up again.
Yeah.
Sho then tries to fight his dad and like he can't get past his barrier. And like Toyochiro, however you want to say his stinking name, eventually retaliates and lands a couple of like elemental attacks before Sho goes invisible, and he like blasts him with an energy attack that he's been saving up for the last 3 months. And it does nothing because Serizawa shows up and blocks it for him. And Toichi Chiro is like, he's a little bit impressed by Sho, and he's like, well, it turns out you seem to have the same ability as me to save up energy. And that's what he's been doing the past 20 years. So he has 20 years worth of like saved up energy. He then decides to like show him a little bit of the power, and then we just cut back to the former Scar member still fighting. And like, oh god, you'll get whiplash from this episode. They're still getting the crap beaten out of them, and they do manage to get like another scratch on Teleport Guy, and Taruki kind of like mocks him for it. So Teleport Guy decides to separate him from everybody else and just starts like destroying him. But when it feels like Taruki is done for, he manages to like counterattack him and explains that he's figured out his moves. And while he's being distracted by him, the former Claw members show up and like manage to get in like a really good amount of string attacks. And he looks like he's about to lose. And then like Teleport Guy suddenly like focuses really hard and activates something he calls the Mind's Eye. And then he just like is almost instantly just takes everybody out. And then that's when he notices like Mob coming towards him. And the interesting thing about his mind's eye, it blocks out everything except for other Esper powers. And so he doesn't notice that when Reagan walks right up to him, he just does a self-defense rush and beats the shit out of the guy. It's pretty funny. Reagan's like, that's what I do when I don't know if it's if it's assault or not or something. And then like teleporter guy just thinks Reagan's so powerful he can hide his presence, and it's just like completely blown away.
I feel like that's his version of police being like, stop resisting as they run towards someone.
Yeah,
like
so,
self-defense. Like,
yeah, he just thinks Reagan's so powerful he can hide his presence, and like he's just completely blown away by like how powerful Mob's presence is. And then since he's defeated, Mob tells everybody, I'm gonna go it alone from here because everybody's hurt and he doesn't want them to get injured anymore, so he goes into the tower by himself. And the episode ends.
Yep. Yeah, I thought the fights were definitely like the standout of this episode. Like the fight animation is just sick. It's like on a different level from Bones. And I think like Mob basically is just going around and telling all these like people with superpowers that like you're not any better than like an average person, and stop acting like you are, and I'm going to take you down. Basically, that seemed to be like a recurring theme throughout the episode, and I kind of like that. But yeah, like. Yeah, the fights were pretty cool, whether it was like Sho fighting his father, the boss, or like the Scar members fighting Ryo Shimazaki. Like they were like really inventive and interesting animation-wise. So like I would go back just to watch this episode for the animation, basically. But like Kat was saying, like I'm still not really invested in this arc outside of just like Mob himself, basically. So I don't know.
I don't have anything else to add. I've seen the next two episodes, so
the quality has gone down so much. I just am disappointed.
What, like in writing?
Yeah, in writing, I think I see what you mean.
I mean,
like,
I really
the animation
don't
quality
care
is pretty
as
high.
much about animation. Like, I know that some people really care about animation, and as we get into the next season, which we will in a week or so, I mean, there's issues with One Punch Man, who's by the same creator. We'll talk about that more later.
Yeah.
Like with the actual animation. I prefer that sort of problem to this problem. Because, like, to me, I'd much rather watch a show with shitty animation that has a good plot than a show with, like, amazing visuals that I don't give a fuck what I'm watching.
I generally agree with that. Because, like, no matter how great something looks, if it's just, like, the most vapid, boring nonsense, it's still going to be bad, you know? Like... Not that that's what Mob is. It's just that like the writing hasn't been like up to snuff at like the beginning of this season in this last arc.
Well, I would say the beginning was actually good. It's when they switched arcs this season that it went down.
Exactly. Yeah.
As a perfect example, no matter say Run with the Wind is the best animated show ever, I still would hate watching that. Yeah.
It's a great show. No, let's talk about Run with the Wind, because we are one episode away from the end where Leo can just like lay back and like imagine that this never happened, and he can embrace his loneliness, as the title of this episode says.
Promptly just forget about this episode. I mean, this show entirely.
Yeah. So we start off with King running his leg of the race, and he's pushing himself like a bit too fast, like we saw at the end of last episode. He flashes back to a conversation that he had with Hyakkimaru, where he asked him, like, what were your plans for after school? And Hyakkimaru tells him, like, I've only really thought about the Hokone for all this time. But he does say, like, I'll help you look for a job, though, because I know you've been struggling with that. He also says for the race that the slope that is near a Yu-Gi-Oh! Temple is going to be, like, the key part of this 8th leg of the race. So he should, like, save his stamina for that. And, like, back to the race, like, the message from the coach to King is basically relating back to the conversation Hyakkimaru had with him, saying, like, when you reach Odemachi, which is, like, the next point, like, tell Hyakkimaru about the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Temple. And so King's like, oh, he did care about, like, what we were talking about kind of thing. And then this leads into this whole flashback where King talks about how he came to the dorm because he wanted like a college life similar to like a TV show or something, but his college life ended up being like really boring and uneventful because he never lived up to his own standards, and like he was sort of like, in my opinion, like too much of a coward to make things happen for himself. It's basically what he says, but that's how I like reasoned it out. Like, yeah, and that's something that happens. Like, you can imagine yourself having this amazing social life at college, but if you don't actually actively make it happen, it's not going to happen for you. Like, you have to be the one to do it.
He's a very careful person, is the way I would describe King.
Right.
And that can be good, but also can limit you.
Yeah, and he's like never really opened up to people, and he badly wants someone to accept him, and he thinks like maybe Hyakki could be that person, but he's like too scared of rejection to like open up. And like when he's running though, he says like the team needs him and he's expected to perform, and like people actually expect things from him when they don't at any other real time. And he's also like alone when he's running, and it allows him to just like face his own problems and drop the king act and realize that I'm just a nobody. I'm not a king. I just put on this act, but at least I can accept the truth about myself while I'm running. So it's like this sort of like big dramatic thing. I don't know if it like really works. It kind of works. It's what it is. It's not like my favorite arc of this last like race, but Hyakki's second message from the coach.
I didn't like it as much as the others, but it was still sympathetic, and it's something I think everyone's understood, had at least once or twice in their life where they didn't do something that they know that they should have done and regretted it later. So it's understandable.
Yeah, or even like pretended you were someone you weren't, kind of like the king persona, like to get people to like you. Yeah. Hyakki's second message from the coach comes after this whole like revelation part. And the message is like, are you ready to buzz in with your answer about like the temple slope? And that message gets delivered like right before he hits the temple slope. And King thinks to himself like, this dream isn't just Hyakki's dream anymore, but the entire team's and my dream. And so he just like fucking cruises up this slope like it's nothing, like runs it really well. So Hyakki calls Kakeru just before his section and tells him that like, while his rival Fujioka is like really great, Hyakki ran with the guy for a year, and he tells Kakeru like, you're the greatest runner I've ever seen. And Kakeru just like tells Hyakki like, watch me race, and like watch what your belief in me has led to. He basically just tells him like, fucking watch me. And so douchebag Kosuke crosses the finish line well before King. And like goes up to Kakeru and tells him like Kansei has no future, all this bullshit. And Kakeru kind of just like smiles and ignores him and tells him, I just want to pass the sash on to the next person. Like, I don't even have any time for your bullshit. Like, Kakeru has moved completely past this drama with this asshole, which is nice.
And actually, it's pretty amazing that he still is so invested in it. Like, that says something more about him and where he is emotionally than really Kakeru at this point.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's something you have to just like learn as you get older, is really the way people react has almost nothing to do with you and really says a lot more about them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's his problem, not Kakeru's problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kakeru, right before he starts the race, he asks Joji if it feels nice to fall in love, and Joji's like, what? And Kakeru tells him, I'm in love too, and Joji's like, with what? And he doesn't answer.
I know. Did he mean he's in love with the team? Is that what he meant?
I mean, it could be a lot of things. He's in love with running. He's in love with the team and like the idea of running with them. He's probably in love with Hyakki to some extent.
He's kind of a weird. I mean, if they have a scene at the end where Hyakki and Kakeru are like making out hardcore, like I'd laugh. I'd laugh just because, like, but of course it's not gonna happen. But it'd be funny.
Yeah, Kakeru doesn't answer Joji. He just leaves it up in the air, and then like King passes the sash on to him and like collapses and everything. And Kakeru starts running the 9th and like second to last leg of the race, and it starts to snow. And he doesn't really feel anything at first, so he's kind of like worried about himself and his pacing. He sees people on the sideline are like cheering for him. He sees like a cameraman filming him, and he's like, I wonder if that means I'm running a good pace. I don't really know. And then he wonders like, are my feet even touching the ground? Which is like gives you the first sense that like he's running really fucking fast. He just doesn't realize it. And then like the TV announcer confirms it, saying like, with the incredible speed this kid is running at, he's in 13th place. And like the coach calls Hyji like and asks him like, should I give Kakeru a message? And Hyji's like, no. Kakeru's running like he wants to reach a different dimension right now, and no one should like interfere with that.
It's kind of weird because he has this zen like attitude while he's running, but like that contrasts so much with the speed that he's running. Because as someone who has tried to run, for me, trying to run fast is like grueling and terrible, and you feel like every second like it's torture, like someone's just dragging a knife on your back. Like I can't imagine just sitting there being like, oh, I'm just running, like it's so zen. Like no, that is not my experience with running at all.
Oh yeah, how's that One Punch Man challenge going along?
It's going. I'm getting better. At first I had these terrible blisters on my feet. I'm not gonna lie, it was horrible, and like I got better at running it. But like every time I do like one of the sprints where I'm like, I'm gonna get some real distance in, and I'm gonna run for 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna speed walk for a while, because I still can't just run all out like the whole time. Mm-hmm. I just hate it. I'll sit there and just stare at the clock and be like, 10 more seconds. 9. Like, I can't imagine this thing of like, I'm so zen and I'm thinking of other things.
This is where podcasts really help me because it's a distraction, especially ones that make me think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like music's okay, but I think podcasts are better, especially ones you're really interested in.
See, but I will actually watch anime while I run, like, because I put my tablet up, my big ass tablet, and like watch it while I run. But I can't help it. I have to glance back up at the clock like all the time. But I'm like, I just want it to be over. I don't want to run anymore.
Yeah. There are like moments in my life where I've felt that when I was running, where it's just like, oh man, I was like running for the past 10 minutes. I just didn't even realize it. Like it just flew by, like kind of thing. It especially happens when you're running outside sometimes, I feel like, where you just get into a zone and like maybe all you hear is like your breathing, and like you just concentrate on like the rhythm of your stride, and even that can feel like it's on autopilot. And then you're just like, you just catch yourself thinking about like some bullshit. And then like 5 minutes later, you're like, oh, I already got to this point. I didn't realize. Like, that can happen. So I think that's what's happening. He's like in a zone, basically, though. Like, he's just in the zone is what's happening.
Yeah. He's gotten to that zone. I mean, I've definitely been there with swimming, like long distance races and stuff. But
right.
Yeah, some people I think are just, they're really good at one thing. And for Kakeru, that thing is running.
Yeah. So he passes like 3 other academies that were like bunched up together, which puts them in like 10th place overall. But he also like starts to calculate. He's feeling so good running. He's like, man, I wish I could just run like the rest of this leg and like all of the next leg too. But he realizes like, no, my race is against Fujioka, and Hyji has like the responsibility for that last leg. Like that's on him. And speaking of which, like Fujioka passes the guy who was in the lead from like Boso Academy and puts Rikudo, his school, back in first place. And he's also running on pace to break the section record as expected. So he's running real fast too. But yeah, Kakeru passes like 2 more schools, and then he visualizes like this true version of himself as he like sees them in front of him, and he's like, that's me. Like, and like he just like matches his vision to like his person and like passes them. And that's like basically what he's doing is like, I'm visualizing myself overtaking them, and then I'm doing it. So yeah, he's in the zone.
Bullshit. It's like some magic mind psychic powers. I guess he borrowed from Mob. I don't know.
Yeah. And I was laughing because like the guy who was trying to like give water to Kakeru could like barely even catch up to him. He's going so fucking fast. But yeah, just at the end of the episode, Kakeru is like reaching like the final like section, and he feels like he can go even faster. And his like, there's like this like slowed down animation where his hair flies up in the back and his chest like sort of like explodes forward, like his heart is like exploding, and then his outline just like glows blue, and he like kicks it into overdrive because he's like, I can run even faster than this. So yeah, that's where they leave off heading into the last episode, which will be the end of Kakeru's sprints and then Hyji's section, which of course we have lots of predictions for, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see this end next week. Very excited.
It's been a really awesome ride. I know it's not Leo's favorite, but it's been a really good series. Like, it's different than a lot of sports anime, and that makes it unique. And I really enjoyed it.
I got a big kick out of Leo's observation for this episode, though.
Oh, yeah. I was just sitting there, and I'm just thinking about, if I was in their shoes, they're like, there's a car in front of them, and there's a car behind them, and I'm just like, aren't they breathing in a lot of exhaust fumes while they're doing this? Like, I think that would be, like, a huge distraction. Just, like, burning your lungs like that.
He's running like, Kakeru is like running behind like a motorcycle like the entire time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially the motorcycles, because they're on high octane fuel, which is way more smelly. So like,
so maybe that's why he's so fucking like he can't feel anything. He's breathing
so
in noxious
high.
fumes. He's high off fumes. Oh,
Yeah,
that's why he doesn't feel like his body can feel. Yeah. Oh man, that's hilarious. Actually,
I figured it out.
I'm excited. So like the thing is like even now like Kakeru's like has them in like 8th place technically like position wise, but they still have like that timing thing where they're like a minute and a half behind even that. There's no way they win this race. It's just impossible.
No,
like
there's no way at all, which I actually like. I like that they aren't gonna win.
And if they do, I will blow up like Leo did about Haruka received that one time. I'll be like, this is the biggest bullshit. So,
we'll all take off our headphones and just throw them to the ground and be like, no, and like
would
walk
that
away.
ruin the whole show for you?
It would.
It would be really weird if they just. It wouldn't make any sense. It kind of.
It
wouldn't
make any
things.
sense, and it would ruin the entire point of this anime, because this is supposed to be a sports anime about not winning, which no sports anime has ever done before. It's what makes it unique. Yeah.
All right, Leo. I envy you for having this next synopsis of Kemurikusa.
God.
Literally one of the best sci-fi episodes of anime I have ever watched in my life, and I'm not joking.
Bullshit.
It's not bullshit. This is I was like bullshit. In awe at this episode. It's so good.
No,
I was in deep.
That good.
I was in so deep, like I kept forgetting I need to pause and type this stuff out before I forget it.
The only reason you think that is because the rest of the show has been so shit. You're excited to actually get any resolution at all. That's the only reason.
It completely built up to this point and then fucking delivered on it 100%.
No.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. Okay.
It's a large info dump. Kat, I hope you have your pen and notepad ready, so take some notes, because I should be able to answer a bunch of your dumb questions.
I have a lot of questions tomorrow, but or for the next time. But this time I'll try.
Okay, so it turns out our mystery girl from the end of the last episode is named Riri. And while she waits for, I quote, him to come back, she cooks up like some Kemurikusa as she waits. And eventually a grown-up / taller version, right, of Wakaba shows up. Like, I don't
really think he was necessarily that much more grown up.
I just feel like he was taller.
I think he's an adult. I think he's an adult in that one. I think he is like 10 years older.
He definitely acts like a different person, but there's very good reasons why he acts like a different person.
Yep.
I don't understand that part at all. So that's most of the question.
I can explain exactly why. They flat out say what happens in the show. Yeah. So anyways, Wakaba shows up. He shows up on like this giant mechanical contraption. Then they sit down for supper, and Wakaba asks one of the white bugs to go like check on the island he created to see if it's any good. So like he's creating islands.
Yeah.
With that huge contraption he has.
Sounds like every man's fantasy. He's a god with a woman waiting at home to cook him dinner.
I don't think he's a god. He's an alien, in my opinion.
I know he's an alien. I'm just saying, making a continent is like the power of a god. It pretty much is.
Yeah.
And Riri's kind of like a 10-year-old, so I don't know if that's a woman waiting at home.
It's an anime, Leo. You and I both know.
Damn lollies. So he was also creating like new versions of Kemurikusa, so he has the power to do that. That's kind of cool. He's also not the only one obsessed with Kemurikusa, because Riri shows him that you can actually combine two different Kemurikusas and create a new one. He's just like, whoa. Wakaba also tells her not to use Kemurikusa on people because it could alter them and also affect their memories.
Boom. That's what happened to Wakaba, by the way.
Yeah, that's obvious what happens to him.
Okay, but is that... Well, it doesn't... Does it show it and I missed it or something?
So, no, actually, that's technically not what happens to Wakaba. There's something slightly different happens to Wakaba that also happened to Riri, which we're going to get into.
Well, because I know what happened to Riri. I understand that part. I don't understand what happened to Wakaba.
I think that's going to be in the next episode, more or less, what happened to him. But just the fact that we know Kemurikusa can do that immediately tells you something happened to Wakaba with the Kemurikusa. And that's why he lost his memories and... He's
apparently
been altered
aged
to be
down
smaller.
10 years.
Yeah, they said alter and affect their memory. So that explains the whole thing. That one line.
If you... Well, very nice. They're just cure-all for their convenient amnesia, whatever. But okay, just a quick thing. If you had the choice, you get 10 to 15 years of your age cut off of you, but you don't remember like almost anything. Would you do it?
No. Did you say lose 10 years but don't remember anything?
Yeah.
No, like you'd be younger.
But you don't remember your entire life, or you don't remember those past 15 years?
I think those past 15 years.
Okay, so if you don't remember the past 15 years, yes, I would do that.
But you're younger.
I would do that.
I might do that. I don't know.
I've learned a lot in the last 15 years. I'd hate to lose it.
I have too, but I feel like I could have done a better job in the last 15 years than I did, so I would take that deal.
Yeah, but without that knowledge, who's to say you would do any better?
That's true.
Yeah.
You would probably just repeat your same mistakes.
Well, maybe. That depends on whether you believe in like predetermined outcomes and stuff like that. Or if you believe just like people, I don't know, because like if we're living, say I become 15 or something again, and then live on from this point in time forward, I'm living in a different time period with different people. I don't know. It depends. Like if I go back to the exact same point in time, then since I have no future knowledge, I will probably do the same things I did, most likely. But
it may
that's
change
an interesting
things.
question. Yeah,
it is. It is an interesting thing to think of. I also was thinking like, oh, you could like write yourself a note like this dude did or this girl did, see if that works. I don't know.
You can write yourself a note like in orange and send it to the Bermuda Triangle.
What would you write a 15-year-old you to make you believe it? Because like I can't imagine it would be easy to get like a 15-year-old version of you to like look at a piece of paper and be like, I believe this.
I would just write myself a bunch of Star Wars spoilers, and then I would know I was right. Because I would be like, nobody would fucking call a character Kylo Ren. What? This is bullshit. And I'd be like, wait, but it's too dumb. Maybe it's real. Anyway.
Okay, now that we've derailed, Wakaba gets a message. I always have to derail
you. Every time you do a Kemurikusa episode, I always have to.
You can't even say it right.
I can't. Kemurikusa. I can sing it. I can sing it like in the opening. I can't say it.
So Wakaba gets a message and has to go back to work, and Ruri goes with him. We get to see like a better view of his machine, and it's definitely that crane thing they were on in the last episode.
Yep.
Okay, then you guys want to help me out here. Wakaba seems to be like a higher being of some sorts.
Yeah, like an alien.
Also seems to exist on like a different plane of existence compared to ours.
So he may be hiding some antenna or something.
He has like these ships or something, and he's somehow like he's printing like the surface of Earth basically, and then putting that onto his ships like he's going to study it for like anthropology or something is what he's doing. And he's like, I need to do this before they disappear. So apparently like Earth's going to shit. And like, so he's saving this for like their cultural meaning. Or something like that.
That irritates me though, because if you can save it, like why don't you actually save it?
Well,
instead of letting it die.
Maybe it's like Star Trek, where they have like a prime directive. He seems to be struggling
in his own ways to do that. I think like he has his own problems he has to get past to be able to save them entirely. Like he just can't do it with like a flick of his finger or something like that.
I'm not even sure if there's any humans still living on Earth or not. I'm not really sure what the status of Earth is.
Okay. Yeah, there's something weird about that. So he uses his machine to like basically fish out buildings from the white mist, and that's how he creates the islands with it. And Riri was also alive once. And when she died one day, Wakaba just happened to fish her out of the white mist, even to his surprise. He doesn't even know how that
Which, by
actually
the way,
worked.
very similar to how he appears in the first episode.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that basically, like, what Riri went through is definitely what Wakaba has gone through. He, like, went through, like, some form of rebirth, lost all of his memories about who he was.
So, like, but wouldn't that mean that she already had some sort of Kemurikusa thing on her before she did the other one? Wouldn't that, like, interfere with each other?
I'm not sure exactly what you just said.
I don't know.
Well, because you said that the whole reason they were able to, like, rebirth them or whatever had to do with the like weird leaf things.
Yeah, so like, I mean, he definitely brought her somehow. I don't know if he brought her back to life. I don't know what exactly happened with her coming back to life. I don't know. Basically, the way they come back to life is still sort of a mystery to me. It has something to do with the Kemurikusa. I don't know exactly.
Yeah,
well, like I said, even
thinking,
Wakaba was surprised about it. He doesn't know exactly what happened.
Since she already had that done to her, wouldn't that interfere with what she does with the leaf things later? Since you make fun of me every time I try to say Kemurikusa.
Maybe. I don't know, but it seemed.
I don't think it would.
She basically just like gives up her life at the end. I don't know. She transforms herself into something different, I guess.
Yeah, Wakaba is like overworking himself and tells Riri he only has to work until he reaches the limit of the Kemurikusa, whatever that means. Riri is really bothered by this because when she was alive, her parents apparently worked themselves to death. So she has the idea to create a Kemurikusa that is able to stop other Kemurikusa. And once you know it, she creates a red one.
Yeah, because she's just like, she's worried about Wakaba. She doesn't want to see him overwork himself to death, which, hey, that's a theme that plays well in Japan.
Yep.
And so, she creates this red Kemurikusa to stop the other ones. Yeah.
We quickly go back to the present. And Rin tells him what she saw and that he was with the person they called the first one, Riri. She also understands now why her face got hot around Wakaba. It seems some of Riri's feelings transferred to the memory leaf in her.
Yeah, so this whole flashback.
Basically, they all like him because she liked him, basically.
I mean, they're the same person. Well, in some sense, like, yeah. And
they were all once the same person at one time, which we'll get to towards the end.
And so, just to be clear, like the whole flashback in the beginning of the episode is taking place while Wakaba and Rin are using the memory leaf. Yeah.
So Rin urges Wakaba to continue playing the memory leaf, and she sees Wakaba and Riri looking at like the red tree that is just growing out of control. He tries stopping it with a wall first, but it just starts like breaking through it. He next tries growing some Midori, but the red mist won't let it grow. Even in this dire situation, he's amazed that Riri was like capable of making this red Kemurikusa. So like that's just how obsessed they are with it. But he's running out of options, and he like transports Riri away, like teleports her somehow, and behind like a giant blue wall. And then from her point of view, you can see something like a green tree is also growing at the same time. And Wakaba feels like he needs to absorb all the water from the lake before the red tree can. Then it will really be out of control.
Right.
So Riri waits at the blue wall for Wakaba for 10 days. But then the red fog starts breaking through. She rushes off and decides she must do something to save Wakaba. She makes it her mission to save him and decides the only way to help is to turn herself into a Kemurikusa and split herself up. So basically, I'm assuming all the sisters are actually parts of Riri, which explains why they each only seem to possess like one or two human senses. And then the outro does this really cool thing where the sisters start disappearing, and like Wakaba shows up and then also disappears with only Rin left. We then go back to the show very quickly with Rin turning around and seeing Wakaba, and like there's blood on him and there's like a red root that's pierced him, and it just ends.
And one of my favorite things about this episode is like a little tiny bit of foreshadowing when Riri, when she starts to run away from the blue wall as the red stuff is breaking through, like you said, she hears Wakaba's voice, and his voice says, "Run, Rin-san." And so what that is Wakaba in real time yelling at Rin, who's using the memory leaf right now, to run
Suppose
because
so.
she is being attacked in the future. That and, like, it kind of applies to like the past as well, like with Riri running away, but like you won't catch that unless you pay attention, which I thought was really cool that he's talking to Rin there.
I saw that, but I didn't make the connection, but that does make sense.
It's pretty
Okay,
cool.
explain that again. Wait, what?
So like as Riri, who is like the girl from the past memory, is like running away from the wall,
Which Rin is viewing.
yeah, like Rin is seeing this all through the memory relief in the future, right? With Wakaba, you hear Wakaba's voice from like beyond the wall, basically yell, "Run, Rin-san!" He doesn't say "Run, Riri-san." He says "Run, Rin-san," which is not the person that she is. So what that is like his voice breaking into the memory leaf thing, because he's something bad is happening in the future. Like they're under attack in the future, and he's yelling for Rin-san to like snap out of it and like stop using the memory leaf. Yeah. And that's what we see at the very end of the episode, where like Wakaba has like blood all over him and is like pierced by this red root because like things went very badly while Rin was using the memory leaf for the second time, basically, which I thought was really cool that they did that. It was very subtle.
You have so much to say about this episode, Bcom. You wrote a lot.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I mostly talked about all of it already. Like, I also really liked that transition of Riri into the normal ED. Just, like, showing us, like, this is how this whole story connects. Like, she uses all the leaves to change herself, and then she becomes, like, the 6 sisters, basically, representing, like, the different colors of Kemurikusa and, like, all forming together to hopefully like also she wrote the message on like the orange like dye leaf, like the mission she wrote was to like
save Wakaba.
Save Wakaba, which got crossed out later into what Wakaba actually told her that he wanted for her, which was just to like live how she wanted to. And so like she crosses out her mission and later and decides like I'm just going to follow his goals, which I'm sure they're going to talk about more in the final episode. But man, I just thought this came together like super well. I wish this episode, I wish this whole anime was like fucking animated by like Bones or something, like, because it would be so much cooler if it was. But like I'm still glad we're getting like an interesting sci-fi story like this that really makes you think in anime. I just wish like this was animated well instead of like fucking Wadatin or like Uzumade or like next season's like Helpful Fox Senko-san, because like this so deserves it. Like, you know, like this deserves to be animated well. And it's just too bad.
Well,
but yeah.
I am glad at least we're getting something to tie this together.
I agree. Whew, so that was fun. But let's move on
next
to
show.
The Promised Neverland. That's Cat's show.
Yeah. All right. Let's all buckle down. Get ready. Let me scroll through.
I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
I never want to listen to the Kemurikusa bullshit. So I always
Episode 11.
scroll. Okay. All right. Episode 11. Some bullshit string of numbers that no one cares about. All right.
January
Emma
14th.
and Ray still want to escape, and they discuss like they're in the kitchen like from last episode, and they're like, and Ray is about to officially or whatever be 12 at midnight, and so he's like kind of hanging out, like celebrating his life, I guess. But man, 12 is a really young age to be like, yeah, I did it all. Like, this is the end. Like, and Emma comes and is like, yeah, we really still need to escape. We both still want to. We've both been still thinking about this. We should do it. And they discuss how they really need to separate Isabella from all of the kids and get them over the cliff. And they decide the best way would be to light the house on fire and evacuate everyone, and then seal Isabella in the secret room. So Ray also has these like Molotov cocktail bomb things, and he thinks that they should throw those into the other like farm.
Yep, that's how Molotov cocktails work. They're bombs.
And then set fires in the other ones so that the people responding from the main area are like, oh God, there's incidents in multiple plants. Which one do we go to first? And it distracts them basically. But then, okay, so like they say all this. Then Ray is like, I'm gonna scare the shit out of you. Here we go, right? Like, I felt like your heart rate wasn't beating enough. So you find out that Ray always had planned to kill himself. He like covers himself in gasoline, which, okay, I don't know if you've ever tried to breathe with like a bunch of gasoline spilled on the ground. There's no way he would just continue to talk after pouring gasoline all over himself. He would be uncontrollably coughing. He probably couldn't breathe at all at that point.
Speaking of breathing in fumes, yeah, that would be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the theme this episode?
It
breathing
might
in
be.
fumes?
Apparently.
It might be.
That might be the title. Breathing in fumes. Oh, anyway. But he's so filled with this like anger and spite. And so he describes how he decided the only way he could get back at them was just to become as valuable as possible and then destroy himself, just like a fuck you, and then I guess die.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I mean, yes, but you could also just try something else. I don't know. It was all very dramatic and emo-y, but at the same time, he's 12. Like, if he's acting like a dumb 14-year-old, he's already ahead of his maturity level at that point. So am I gonna be too upset at this poor 12-year-old? Probably not. We all did dramatic, stupid shit. Yeah. And it cuts away from that, which I am so annoyed with shows that they're like, oh, this dramatic thing's happening. Now we're going to show you another scene. Good luck. I hate that. We get a scene with Isabella with the kids, and she looks just so fucking happy to be tucking these little babies in and shit. And I'm like, man, Isabella's just a weird character. I just don't get it. And the collar she's wearing is so fucking high in this scene. What the hell is this collar? Like, I just remember thinking to myself, can you even move your neck, Isabella? Like, because she turns at one point because she hears like Emma scream. And I'm like, could you even turn your neck in that collar? Pretty sure that thing prevents all movement.
I don't think I'll never stop being amazed at what stops you in the middle of an anime and you start questioning.
But that irritated me because that thing, I've worn cosplay with collars, and that's really uncomfortable. That collar is like a step beyond uncomfortable. Like, that's got some like stiffness and some like, for it to go up that high, it's got like some like wiring or something in there. It doesn't just stand up like that high on its own. Believe me, there's only so high things can go without like structure and wiring and shit. Can you imagine having wire like against your neck?
That would suck. Yeah, that sounds like a Queen Elizabeth type collar or something like you would see in one of her like portraits.
It's just not feasible, let me tell you that. But anyway, so she hears Emma scream. She runs towards it and she's like, can you smell that? Because I guess she can smell the burning flesh. And this is right at midnight. So they set everything on fire right at midnight. And everyone is evacuated as planned. And Isabella tries to at least get, like, she's like, if I can at least get his brain, like, this will be good because I can salvage something. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I don't really know, like, what that would do for you, but okay. And
she could still sell the brain.
Yeah,
for like food or whatever.
Flame broiled Whoppers sell real well, so flame broiled human brain, I'm sure, would be great.
Oh God,
It'd be fun.
I'm just imagining her putting it in like a bun and putting like cheese on top. Okay, but yeah, she turns to tell Emma to run, but Emma's like long gone, and I'm like, oh, okay, it is a trap because I was wondering because Emma was being very placid, and I was thinking to myself, I don't really think Emma would just be standing there. Now, okay. At this point, you know it's a trick. You know they all got away somehow. Because you see Ray with his ear cut off. So they cut off his ear so that she sees like his tracker like in the flame. So she's like, oh, it really is Ray.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't understand why Emma cut off her ear. It doesn't make sense.
Because like to just because Isabella had that tracker, so she could see where Emma's ear was. And so Emma's ear was just outside in the hall. So like Emma put it there. So like if Isabella looked at her tracker, she would think that Emma was still like just outside and not running away.
Oh, no. That's what she did. And then she went and looked and found the ear.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that slowed her down.
Yeah, that was a problem for me too. Cause like she finds the ear so quickly that it's like, oh, well, she should immediately know what's happening. And then she could run off after them immediately if she wanted to.
Yeah.
She basically immediately just turned around and looked around the corner to see, where the
it was like not even
the
that
sink or
long.
something, and it was just like she could have just ran outside and used a little fucking taser and gotten rid of it, and Isabella would just been like, oh, she ran away, and she would have found that out none the quicker. It's just felt unnecessary.
So yeah, it was dumb. I didn't get that, and also I'm thinking like, okay, you are in a hallway. Someone has just gone to go check on this burning thing that is not actually, you only have like a minute. How are you going to cut your ear off in a minute? I know personally, I could not do it. There is like a self-preservation thing that kicks in when you are like going to do something real drastic to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if you've ever tried to jump off something really high.
Oh, like, yeah, that's hard.
You tell, you're like, jump, and your legs are like, fuck no, not doing it.
You have to like really work yourself up to it a lot, unless you've done it a bunch of times before and you've gotten over that like hill. But like nobody's cut their ear off a bunch of times before, so like you have to like really work yourself up.
Hesitation marks, like you'd try to do it and like only get a little way in and then stop. Like I know you would. There's no way you're just like, and then you cut off your ear.
In my head, I'm just thinking she got some really sharp like head shears and just boom, one go. That's all it takes. It
doesn't matter how sharp they are. You would hesitate, and that would. The only way I could see is if they cut each other's ear off. It's kind of like, well, you guys probably have never had anyone. You've never probably done waxing, have you? Neither of you.
I did it once, and it did not work out well.
Yeah. See, if you do it to yourself, you can't rip it off.
Like, I did it to myself.
Self-preservation thing.
You can do it. It just sucks.
It's very hard. It's like, for me, I can't do it myself. I can't rip it. I have to have someone else rip mine off, and then I'll rip theirs off, right?
I feel like I could do it.
Oh, you feel totally like it. I felt like it. Okay, I felt like it. I put that shit on. I was like, I'm a strong-ass bitch. I got this. I'm going to rip this off my leg. No. Nuh-uh. Let me tell you, it's not so easy. Anyway, the only way I can see them doing it is if they cut each other's off.
Okay. Interesting.
But then who was in the hallway? Are you saying that's what they did?
I'm saying like maybe Ray was hiding in the hallway and they quickly cut each other's ears off and ran or something.
Well, you see her like going to cut his ear when he's still sitting in the middle of that room as they're placing like the hair and meat on the floor and stuff.
Yeah, so maybe she'd cut his off then and then he was hiding and cut hers off. I don't know. I'm just thinking in my head like how did they do this? Because there's so many holes where you have to think about what actually happened in those holes.
I'm gonna be honest, I know like that's what you think happened, but I pretty much think you're meant to think that Emma just cut it off herself. Like I think that's what they want you to think.
I just don't think a 12-year-old can cut their own ear off. But okay.
She's a badass.
She's a badass. But yeah. They're here then we see the missing scene from before, basically, at this point. Where Emma doesn't let Ray do this. She's like, fuck no, I'm not letting you commit suicide in front of me. Fuck off. Like, you're an asshole. And just reveals, like, Norman kind of knew you were going to do this because Norman knows how you are. And he came up with this plan to protect you from your emo-ass self. And basically, Emma and Dawn and Gilda used Krone and had the other kids listen in on her conversation with Krone, so they know that what they're telling these kids is true. So, like, a lot of the kids know now, like, almost all of them.
Yeah, and I tried to point out last episode a couple of, like, moments where the kids were being, like, sort of, like, doing interesting things in the yard, because that gets talked about in this episode, where like it looked like Emma was like being downtrodden and depressed while her leg was broken, but she was really like directing things from behind the scenes and like telling them the plan. And like the kids were they were running around with hangers last episode and like sheets and all this stuff for like the escape. So they've been foreshadowing it at least since last episode.
I have a problem with that, though, because I don't know how Isabella did not notice this massive amount of supplies disappearing. Everybody has backpacks. Everybody has food. They've got crazy amount of supplies. Like, how does she not notice? Like, I don't know how. That doesn't make sense to me.
She's got a lot going on. She's under a lot of stress. Maybe she's just broken at this point. She's like, I'm kind of done. Like, who knows? You're right, though. Like, especially how young some of those kids are. Like, someone would have either broken and told or, like, given it away or something. But, like, I do think it's a good idea that they told more of the kids because, like, you can't just keep it a secret. It's a good idea.
Okay.
We also called it a long time ago. Phil's a snitch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Get into that.
So then they that's where they get the meat and the hair, and that's why they set those on fire so the smell would be correct. That's how they made it realistic. Okay, yeah. So at the very end, you see Isabella outside the house, the burning house, with the ear laughing, and she's like, I won't let them escape. And she just becomes like a comic book villain. And it's like, Mwah! And like then Phil is just there. And it's like holding her hand. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, did he just, at first I was like, did he just somehow get misplaced? Like, did they run? And he just was like, where'd everyone go? Guess I'm gonna hang out with Isabella.
Because they said they told everybody about the plan, which means they should have recruited Phil. So I think Phil is just a fucking narc.
Well, okay, but if they told everyone about the plan, and that includes Phil, then wouldn't Phil tell Isabella that they know about the plan?
Maybe this is like the earliest he felt he could tell her. I don't know. It was kind of awkward because like part of me when I saw that scene, I thought like, oh, Phil is just like really innocent and stupid. But then the rest of me was like,
stupid.
No, he's a fucking narc. He has high test scores.
He's like what, 4?
He's like 6 or something. I don't know. He's really young.
No, like 4 or 6-year-old is like, I have nefarious plans to turn against everyone else in the house, and no.
But his test scores, Kat, they're so high. Oh man, I don't know. Poor Phil. For whatever reason, he stayed behind.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll find out in the final episode of the season. I just wanted to mention like 2 things about this episode. One thing that didn't quite work for me so well is so like when Emma is talking to Ray and he's like lighting the match, the clock strikes midnight, which we all heard, and then like Kat was saying, they cut away to that scene of Isabella putting the kids to sleep and she's in the office and the clock strikes midnight. And then she hears, like, Emma's screams, like, almost immediately after that. When in reality, when they show the scene as it happened again, the clock strikes midnight, then Emma dives towards Ray, puts out the match, explains everything to Ray, which takes, like, multiple minutes as the kids, like, put, like hair and shit down the floor and meat. True. They cut Ray's ear off. All of this bullshit. He changes clothes. Like, that didn't happen in, like, the little, like, seconds. Like, yeah, that was ridiculous. So they fucked up there, in my opinion.
That's true. The timeline is a little fucked. Yeah. There's parts of this where if you actually think it through, like, really logically, there's holes. Yeah. Holes, I say holes.
And I still don't know what the deal is with the pen that Crone left behind for, like, Norman and Ray or whatever. I don't know. I still don't know
what's a laser pen.
For a second, I thought it was like the scalpel that they used to cut their ears, but they didn't really ever show that, so I think it's not. It's just something different. But yeah.
Maybe it's a key.
Well, she did leave 2 house keys behind, so yeah. I don't know. I'm sure they'll need it at some point. But yeah. All right, we ready to take a break?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back in a little bit.
All right, see you soon.
The Trash Pandas bring you this nugget from another trash can. What happens when Brains and Bullets discuss episode 2 of One Punch Man?
Pretty much gene splicing heads. They will
Yep.
They will splice genes. They have a cyborg gorilla. They have frog that walks on two legs and communicates at long range. Like they got. You think they splice
The Lion King?
Yeah, they have the lion. They have a f***ing lion, beast king, and
Simba.
yeah, he's f***ing Simba. I don't mean he's f***ing Simba. I mean he's f***ing Simba.
We at Trash Pandas Watch Anime dig through the trash so you don't have to. You can find the Trash Pandas Watch Anime podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter where you'll get live updates from what we do.
Hey dude, you into anime, manga, and all that radical stuff?
Oh yeah, man, it's tubular.
Then you should totally check out the...
This transmission has been hacked. If you want discussions, debate, reviews, and all in between, you must listen to the Anime Radicals Network at www.animeradicals.com. There's timely reviews, revolutions, mecha, and much more. Find it on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all podcast catchers. The Anime Radicals Network.
The revolution will be simulcast.
And we are back. Woo! And we will just jump straight into some JoJo because it is crazy.
Notorious!
Episode 24,
Oh.
Notorious Chase.
Speaking of
What,
JoJo,
Kat?
did you see that they launched a clothing line for JoJo
No?
just very recently? No, you didn't.
Is it
see
based
that?
off of this anime?
Yeah,
Is it based off of this anime?
this anime.
Holy shit.
I gotta Google this.
I saw
JoJo
it in one of my
clothing line.
anime groups. Like they had a link to some of them. A lot of them are stuff that I could never see anyone actually wearing. It's like very
Yeah, I imagine
loud
that.
prints. I'm just like, I don't know. Like,
I want like Guido's like Renaissance style Italian like hat thing that he wears. That's what I want. They're not gonna make it though.
but yeah. I just thought that was interesting.
Make it yourself. Or try.
I could. Wouldn't be that hard to make actually.
So the crew decides to take a plane because they think that they will be so high and going so fast that no stand user has the power to reach.
Uh-huh.
Has anybody
Spoiler
ever watched
alert.
JoJo before?
They're wrong.
Of course, they thoroughly check the plane, and Giorno uses his like stand ability to check
Wait,
and see if
is
there's
it-
anything alive on board.
Okay.
What?
Sorry, you said Giorno, and I just thought DiGiorno.
Giorno, yeah, Giorno.
Uh-huh.
I got it right. But, okay, he uses his stand's ability to see if anything's alive on board. Did we know he had that kind of power?
Yeah, we knew. Well, we
I
knew
don't
that
so.
his power has to do with life. So
Right, but I
Yeah.
didn't know if he could just like touch a car and detect if there's life inside or not. I didn't.
Jordan could do a lot of shit. I felt like that was pretty normal. I don't know.
I felt like it was within his means
Yeah.
of power, but I was like, has he done that specifically yet, or is this brand new? But anyways, Leone uses like Moody Blues to fly the plane, and just before they leave, like some guy starts walking towards the plane. Mista gives him like a warning shot in the leg, and it causes the guy's stand to then come out. So like they're like, oh shit, he's a stand user. So Mista fires the rest of his bullets and kills him. And Giorno, this is the most fucking most foreshadowing line I've ever heard. He comments, that was a little too easy to kill him. It seems like he wanted to die. And you're just like,
and you're like, and this won't be a problem later.
yeah, you're just like, oh, as the viewer, you're like, well, this is going shit real quick.
But like, what kind of like I just don't see them hiring a suicide bomber in Italy. Like, how do they even? They're like, listen, we want you to die.
Well, I wanted
so
to.
we can use your
I left it for the
stand.
end, but I want to talk about this guy's stand's ability.
I have some things to say about
Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah,
we can discuss that at the end. Otherwise, we'll never make it through this.
That's fair. Yeah.
Flying along, and Giorno notices like a strange noise coming from the mini fridge in front of him, and he has Mista get his gun out, and like they open the fridge and they like find the guy that they killed. His fingers are like half formed in there.
Oh, I
and
know.
then
What the fuck is that? Why? I don't understand. I understand the idea of how
Yeah,
his.
we will save how his fucking stand
You're like,
works for the
shut
end.
up. You're like, shut up,
Miss-
Kat.
Mista also looks away one moment, looks back, and thinks a fourth finger showed up at some point. But then Bruno like uses his zipper ability to like send the fridge and the fingers out of the plane. Relieved, Giorno sits down and like he notices like some small graffiti on the window, And like he keeps looking and he starts noticing more and more and more on the walls. And then like he sees the stand that is after them is named Notorious B.I.G. We know what it is.
Fucking Biggie Smalls. What the fuck? All right, I have a lot to say about that later, but yeah.
And he like freaks out more when like he sees his own name. He's like, what the fuck is going on? And then like he just notices there's a pin at the cuff of his sleeve. So like he pulls it back and there's like another fucking hand growing from his arm. And then like he tries to cut off his own arm, but it's also affecting his stand in the exact same way. But for once, the other people notice something's fucking going on.
Yeah.
So Mr. like he shoots four of his, he severs his arm by shooting it. But then the thing is, like, the meat blob caught like four of his bullets, which is like damaging Mista. So Mista's done. And then Narancia, he like tries shooting it with his stand only for the meat blob to like then go after his stand because this meat blob is fucking fast as shit.
Yeah.
And he catches the plane and is like crushing it. So now Narancia is down. It then tries to go to Trish, who is trying to get into a closet to get away from everything. But Giorno finally figure out what it's tracking, and it's tracking movement. It's just going over what's moving the fastest and zoning in. So he uses his like stand to like punch like really madly in the air, and then the meat blob goes after his other arm. And now that the meat blob is attached, I don't know why I'm calling it meat blob. Now that it's attached to Giorno's, it's a meat blob. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it looks like ground beef.
It's attached to his left arm. Remember, his right arm's missing. If I got that backwards, it doesn't matter. He punches out the window, and like he starts to like cut off his own arm, and Missa's yelling at him like, "Don't do it!" And then like not Mista, yeah, it was Bruno. Sorry, Mista's fucking down. Bruno's like, don't do it, transfer it to me, because you can't lose both arms, because then you won't be able to use your ability. It has to be the fists that connect. But Giorno doesn't have time, as it's like slowly going up his arm, and then he just chops off his arm.
Okay, I have a problem with the window thing, because you can't just open a window in a plane and just like the thing that's right there is the thing that goes out the window. All those fucking people will be going out the window. Like,
depressurization is a real problem, especially at that height. Yeah, I don't know.
Actually, I'm going to call you on that because there was a news article recently where a window did bust. It sucked out a woman, but like 2 or 3 other people tried to pull her in. So not everything gets sucked out. It's basically just kind of the closest thing.
But wasn't it like they tried to pull her back in?
She still died.
She still died. It was really grisly. Like, I encourage you all, if you're into that shit, to look that up. Because, like, didn't her head go out?
Into that shit?
Well, I mean, some people are
I'm very into people dying and getting killed.
Some people are fascinated by, like, violent stuff like that. Not, like, sexually into it, but, like, wow.
I know not that, but I'm just still like, ugh.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like, she got halfway sucked out, and then, like, 2 guys grabbed onto her, and, like, they had to struggle to get her back in, and she ended up just dying from the complications of it. But
I think, like, didn't her
so not
eyes
like
get
everything's
pulled
gonna
out
go
of her head or something? From, like, the suction?
Remember.
It was grisly.
Yikes.
I didn't read into it that much. Jesus, Kat.
I mean, I was interested. I was like, whoa.
Cat's into that shit,
I was like, whoa, what the fuck? I was psyched. I mean, I feel bad that she died, but I was psyched. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So Giorno, he lost his left arm, and like the meat blob's fucking flown away. So Bruno like picks up Narancia and Mista and Giorno, and then he puts them in the turtle, and then he goes to the cockpit to let Leone know what happened. I don't know how he didn't hear all the chaos in the back. So this leaves Trish alone in the cabin by herself. And then it's like she's sitting there thinking, and then she thought she saw like a ball rolling on the wing of the plane. And so she gets up to investigate, and that's when like the meat blob's back. It's like bashing on all the windows, and it finally makes it around to the one that got broken and oozes through like the makeshift patch. And what's interesting is it's actually starting to take like a form. It's not just a blob anymore.
Yeah.
It's starting to actually look like a mini stand of some sort.
It looks to me like it's almost like the face huggers from Alien, or like the head crabs from like the Half-Life video game or something. Like it seemed like that.
Yeah, so it slowly starts to go towards Trish, but then at the last second, it turns around. What Trish sees is that one of Giorno's ladybug brooches had fallen off, and it's slowly turning into his left arm. So that's why the Blob's seeing that movement and going after that instead of Trish. But Trish believes if she can save the left arm, then Giorno is like still in the game and they can heal everybody. And that's where it's in. Okay. Let's talk about why it's kind of stupid that your stand only activates after you die.
Yeah.
Number one, you're dead. Also, how did he find out what his stand's ability is? How did he know that dying would cause his stand to go all loco on?
Also, how do you recruit someone in Italy and are like, hey, we know somehow that your stand's ability only activates after you die. Will you die for us? Like, no one is like, sure, let's do that. I'll die for this. Like,
well, not unless they roped him into like some kind of like, they got really behind some type of cause, because there are actual suicide bombers.
Yeah, so. But like for that cause, like it's not a religious thing. Like usually it's a religious thing that people will get that up in arms about. Or like,
I mean, you could say he's like really into this backing, and it's like basically is his religion. There is one plus side I could see to this, and it's one of the times where you'd want everybody to know your stand ability, because if they killed you, then they would know that stand would go after them, and so nobody would really want to kill you. They'd be like, shit, then we have to deal with that damn thing.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so. Then like you would just tell everyone like, listen, my stand only activates after you die. You better not kill me, because
and this is how crazy this and persistent this thing is. Yeah. That's the only positive side. Other than that, this is the dumbest stand I've ever seen.
Also, why is it able to write on the fucking airplane door? That makes no sense at all.
What?
It's like writing, like when Giorno was like sitting.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
It was a hand. It was a hand, well, so it was like, writing.
How is it thinking and like answering him? Why is it answering him?
It's a stand.
I don't understand.
I don't understand the stands.
Let me just answer the person I'm attacking's questions. I think this is a good use of my time as I devour them whole. What?
Can we talk about how they put rapper Biggie Smalls' Notorious B.I.G. in this story as a stand, only to kill him with gun violence immediately? Can we talk about that for a second? That's a little fucked up.
Yeah, that did happen.
I mean, they also made Trish into a meow.
How'd they do that?
Oh, you're not okay. Never mind. You'll find out later.
Spoiler alert! I'll have to like cut that out or something.
Yeah. Or you'll like beep it.
Man.
It'll be our first like, and we'll be like, "What did she say? What did she say?"
Just have Cat going meow right over it.
Perfect. Oh man, yeah, that was like my big thing with this. Like, it's like Notorious B.I.G. I wonder what his stand is going to be. He dies by getting shot. It's like what?
A lot.
I'm so excited to talk about when we watch the next episode, because something happens at the end with the stand that will make you laugh even more.
Oh boy!
Oh,
I'm
fantastic!
Excited.
Yeah.
You know what makes me laugh even more though, Kat? Domestic Girlfriend. It makes me laugh every time.
All right.
This was a big episode. It was a fun
I actually
one.
finished this today. Thank God.
Oh God.
Yeah. We'll talk about the finale next time, but we're still
all right,
we're still building up to that trash fest.
Tell us about this piece of rotten, reeking garbage. Tell us about it.
Episode 11. Natsuo and Rui return home from the rainy night in the park. And then they immediately like flash back to their conversation, and Natsuo explained that like Hina has reciprocated his feelings and he plans to be with her in the future. And like when he told Rui this, she like basically breaks down. And you know, like when you're at the end of a relationship and you know it's over, but you're still in love with that person, so you kind of like want to like kiss them one last time. I don't know if that's it's happened to me before anyway. And so like she does that here, and she's like, "This will be our last kiss."
Well,
and like Natsuo's like, "All right."
He's not in a relationship with her. That's the difference. Like, she keeps doing this shit to him. Like, she keeps basically being like, date rape, like in his own house. He has no desire. I mean, granted, he doesn't stop her.
He has some desire, I feel.
But like, what? Stop it. Like, stop, man.
They both need to stop it. But like, especially him.
But like,
Yeah.
she needs to calm her tits and like go, you know what? She's a hot girl. Go fuck someone else other than your brother. It's not that hard. You can, there are men waiting to fuck you out there that are not your brother. I promise.
Well, there's that Alex guy.
Yeah, Alex is like standing in line, like, come here.
Oh, I know, and he's like the blonde foreigner dude. They're in Japan. That like they gobble that shit up.
So Rui's like very heartbroken, and she like cries in the bath that night. But the next day, like they're walking to school, and she's like, Natsuo, I've decided I'm gonna start trying to dislike you now. I'm gonna make an effort
I know,
to not
and it's
like
so
you.
dramatic. I was like, what is this? Like, is there anything more high school than this? Bcom?
It's so weird because it's like you should just not like him because of all the things he's done to you. Like, you shouldn't even have to make an effort.
It reminds me of conversations I would hear in high school where they'd be like, I just hate you now, and we can never come back from this. And it's like all dramatic, and you're like,
Yeah.
If that was the case, we wouldn't have to have this dramatic conversation. Like,
I've totally heard. I definitely have heard girls say in high school, like, I'm gonna try really hard not to like him anymore. Like, I've heard that exact thing said before, and it's funny.
Wow.
So, and, okay, so it's announced that Natsuo's gonna go on this class trip to Okinawa with his whole class, and swimsuits are gonna be allowed. Like, his male teacher's like, you're all gonna see me in a Speedo, and I'm like, that doesn't seem appropriate, which we'll get to later. Natsuo also goes to talk to Hina at school about the whole Rui situation, like, and holds her hand and says, like, I hope this won't end things between us, and, like, Rui passes by Hina in the hallway and like doesn't say anything to her because she's pissed for obvious reasons. There's this whole B plot to the episode where like Kiria, who's like the lit club advisor, comes to the club and tells them like a winner has been announced for the literature club writing contest you all entered, and the winner is Rui, not Natsuo. So this is the first.
I knew that was coming too.
Yeah,
it's like, what? A woman did better than me. I must hate her for this. I'm just like, that's also shitty.
He's super upset and jealous because like his whole world has been flipped upside down. Like, and like this is the first time she's ever written a story, and she wins, and he's like really upset but tries to hide it. And like
but not
Mew
very
from the Lit Club,
not very
no,
well.
not successfully at all. Like she clearly sees. And like Mew from the Lit Club like pulls him aside, and she's like, you know, I'm also really depressed about losing because like I lost a lot of things in the past, but like she actually has some kind of good advice. She's like, I'll use this depression as sort of like motivation to overcome those people who have like all this talent. Because she's like, I have to believe that like all these depressed feelings and all this like adversity is going to like help me someday. And I think she's right about that because like perseverance is very important for success as well. Like you may not succeed at first, but try again. Like you will. So yeah. But
well,
yeah,
they've done studies where they found out that the reason that people who play video games a lot tend to do better in school is because when you play a lot of video games, you fail over and over and have to practice in order to get to the next level, and it teaches you some forbearance of having to keep trying when you fail. So there's something
like failing
to that.
is not the end. It's just like the beginning of getting better. Like, failure, learning through failure is extremely important. So yeah. Natsuo visits the Lit Club advisor Kiria and begs him to like make him his apprentice, and like Kiria sits him down and tells him like, you know, Rui came to me and asked to decline the award, and she didn't give any reason for it. That I was kind of pissed off at.
I mean, it's pretty obvious why. He went around like a little poser all day, like, oh, I didn't win the contest. Like, she's like, you know what? I don't need this kind of mess in my life. Fine, I'll decline the award.
Yeah, but she's like not going to accept this award just to like make him feel better about it. And that's shitty. That's dumb. Like, that's the whole reason.
If anything, it makes him feel worse, though. Because, like...
Probably? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kiria also tells him this thing how, like, well, the way I measure talent is in, like, the likelihood to become an author. And so, in my eyes, you have a lot of talent because your desire to continue writing is so strong. And
This
so
just
you will
sounds like
likely
massaging
succeed.
his ego. But I mean, there's some
really
truth in
does.
that. But like, yeah, it's
There's some
mostly-
truth, like, because, like, yeah, like we were saying, like, you have to, like, being a great writer doesn't mean having a ton of talent necessarily. It can mean that. It doesn't means you have to continue writing and keep at it over and over again. So he has that. Kiryu also tells Natsuo that if he became an apprentice, he'd probably just learn a few things about the industry, but like the thing he really needs to do is just write more books. Like, he hasn't even wrote that much yet. So he's just basically calling Natsuo out for what he is. And like, he goes home, and Natsuo he like congratulates Rui, and then he like goes and flops down on his bed, and he's like, damn, everything Kiryu said like kind of cut through all of my bullshit and exposed how lame I really am. And so he kind of bounces back and he's like, all right, I'm going to write like one short story a week from now on to like improve myself, and starts handing them back to like Kiryu for notes. And so that's good. At least he's making the best of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the class heads to Okinawa by plane. They go to this like restaurant to eat some like Okinawan specialties, and like out of nowhere, the blonde dude, like Alex, like straight up just fucking open mouth kisses Natsuo. Apparently it's because of like something called kore gusu, which is like a seasoning in Okinawa made by like infusing chili peppers with this
I've never
liquor
seen a
called
man
awamori.
kiss another man because he's drunk. That's some bullshit. This is either
Well-
like revealing that this side character is gay, or more likely, in my opinion, implying that foreigners have no personal boundaries, which is a
Yeah,
common
it's
trope.
both probably.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're implying that he's gay or just bi or like anything serious like that, or if it's just a joke.
Just
but
like
I also
all
think
those
it's really funny.
foreigners. Those foreigners have no sense of when to stop. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just also thought it was like, oh, it's another person in Natsuo's harem that just keeps growing.
Pretty much. I
Oh,
feel like the
wow.
more that Natsuo just keeps telling women, like, I don't want you, I don't want to be with you, the more they fucking stop being negged, all of you bitches and dude.
Yeah,
Like, ugh.
it's true. Okay, so that all happens. Then they head to the beach so we can see the girls in the swimsuits, because this is an anime,
Yeah.
including Hina, who is their teacher. And I was like, it's pretty fucking weird that their teacher's just like walking around in a bikini on a school trip. Like, that doesn't seem appropriate. Like, maybe I'm a prude, but like that really doesn't. It seems like a
Yeah.
line being crossed.
Well,
and like
I
even
mean-
Rui is like, you're wearing an indecent like swimsuit, like Hina. Like even she thinks so. Which I was like, oh, I feel justified now. What do
Part
you
of
think,
me
Kat?
wants to be like, let them wear a bikini, but the other part of me is like, they are supposed to be a teacher. It's hard. Because, like, I definitely had swim coaches when I was in high school, like male swim coaches who coached us in Speedos. Like,
Oh yeah, was that
was a
distracting?
thing. I didn't find it distracting, but
Okay.
I mean, I didn't think of it either because that was just the way it was. I don't know. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, like I feel like she could be in a swimsuit, but like wearing like maybe like a track jacket or something. I don't know. Like who knows what the
or
real
like
rule
one of
should
those
be.
tasteful cover-ups. Who knows? One of
Sure.
Yeah.
So Hina's just happy that like Rui finally like talked to her, and since she like admits all this stuff, she's like, I lost control when like you confessed your feelings to Natsuo, and like I thought you were like getting what you wanted again, and like I was falling behind, and like that's why I went after him myself. And Hina says she doesn't want Rui to stop liking him, and like she's like, I'll even break up with him if it'll make things go back to normal between us. And like Rui's like, fuck that shit. Like she pinches Hina's face and tells her like, if your feelings are still the same for Natsuo, it's not going to change anything anyway. It's all going to be the same. And then Hina's like, well, have we at least made up? And like Rui's like, she thinks about it for a second. She's like, all right, we've made up. And they both hug, and it's like over. It's ridiculous how fleeting the feelings of these girls are.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
mean, it feels like this kind of shit would be much more deep.
You would think.
Yeah.
And so Natsuo and Hina text each other. Like a lot of time goes by very quickly, and it's like already the last day of the trip. And they text each other and plan to like meet up in her hotel room on the last night while the rest of the class is watching fireworks. and he gets there, and then they both blurt out something at the same time that they've been waiting to say. And Natsuo says, like, oh, I think it's time we got more serious about each other. And at the same time, Hina says, like, I think we should break up.
No, I know. That's when you know a relationship is just going so well, right? When, like, one person's like,
perfect.
I think we should get married. And the other person's like, we should break up. Like...
And like he listens to Hina's reasoning, like right,
yeah.
like she's like, oh, I should have been an adult about this. I shouldn't have let this get this far. And he's like, he listens to all that, and like I think honestly, rightfully, he says like I object to all of that because like she said the exact opposite to him in the past. So like he knows she can't fully mean that. So like I think he rightfully calls her out, and he's like, no, I don't believe that. And then he puts this ring on her that he bought when he was out like shopping with his buddies. And he's like, this is my rebuttal to your comments. And like they hold hands and they watch the fireworks, and Natsuo's like, I'm sorry that I got you this cheap ass ring now, but I'll get you a good one in the future. And like asks her to marry him.
So fucking cheesy.
And calls her by her first name for the first time, and she cries and kisses him, and then they fuck.
Oh, I know. They hardcore fuck this time. It finally happened.
Yeah.
Natsuo got his. He got his card stamped twice with both of his sisters. Should be so proud. What women
that's the
have
only
you
thing this
fucked in
anime
your
does
life?
right is that people do fuck.
Oh,
actually.
I know. Like I'm just imagining him in college. What women have you fucked, Natsuo? Well, I fucked both my sisters.
Well, technically, the one wasn't my sister at the time.
And the other one was actually my teacher too. Anyway, so yeah, after the sex, I died laughing because like there's a scene where like Natsuo asks about like when Hina did you first decide that you loved me, and she's like, well, I think it's when I saw Rui kissing you, but also it's like when we talked on the roof at the school all those times I realized. And then Natsuo's like,
the whole time?
yeah, well, yeah, the entire time. And then Natsuo's like, well, I was surprised that you got over Shu so quickly, because like there's this one time I heard you call out his name while you were masturbating, and she's like, what the fuck did you just say?
Oh, and then doesn't
She's,
he
like,
go and
mortified.
say like, oh, but I jerked off in the other room right after. And I'm like,
He's like, don't
why are
worry,
you
because I went
saying
and jerked
that?
off right after that. Like, that makes it better somehow.
I know. Like, I almost wish he'd said instead, like, oh, but I went in the other. I just watched you and jacked off while I watched you. That would be even more creepy. What the fuck?
The whole scene was just surreal, and it like ends with them like hugging each other and thinking they're cute. And it's just like, this relationship is so fucking dumb and childish, but whatever.
It is.
Finally, the juicy stuff. They get back home, and Hina is called into a conference with the head teacher.
Ba-da-da! Sorry, I had to be dramatic.
He hands her this photograph that was taken from the beach where they're watching the fireworks, and it has their hotel room window in it, and she's kissing Natsuo.
Oh no!
So I guess that'll be the last episode. We'll see what happens with Hina's job.
Well, they were kind of stupid to hook up during the school trip. Like,
yeah.
they should have probably...
Really, everything they've been doing is extremely stupid.
Yeah, I mean, they did kiss in the school one. I'm like, you're the dumbest people alive.
Yep.
Yeah. So...
Anyway, still, I will say up through episode 11, I've still just been like extremely entertained by how stupid this was. But I will say, I've seen the last episode. We're going to talk about it later. I think that episode kind of fucking goes too far. But we'll talk about it.
I am
At least somebody's
excited.
enjoying this stupid anime.
I actually loved it because I just loved how dumb, especially the last episode, I just loved ripping it to shreds. It's gonna be so
that'll be fun. We'll definitely have a great time doing that.
Oh, speaking of ripping the shreds, this next show.
I
damn.
loved this episode.
What?
This is like maybe my favorite episode of the entire show.
Are you kidding? How is this your
Did
favorite
you see
episode?
Chika and her sisters on the beach? Because I did.
You mean you like the scene?
A
like
tiny scene.
10-second scene. That's it.
That's dumb, Bcom. Okay. Basically, Kaguya-sama, Love is War, episode 11. The episodes, I'm going to call this like the waiting episode because almost nothing happens. The episode starts off, it's been 2 weeks in summer vacation. And like, okay, so I looked this up because in America, summer vacation's like 2 months or something. or like even longer sometimes, depending.
Yeah.
But I guess in Japan it's only 40 days long, so they're
Wow.
they're almost halfway through. Like they gotta speed this up if they're gonna do shit. Nothing's happened. They're both laying around in their houses being depressed, like, I wish I could talk to them, but not doing anything. And then I has been watching Kaguya just spiral into depression and tells her basically like Miyuki is laying around at home according to his Twitter. So like if you go outside, you'll probably meet up with him. You should do that. Kaguya is upset that other people know what's going on with him, but she doesn't. But she also has no idea of how Twitter works, apparently, which
she tries to look it up in a dictionary.
I mean, I have not very much knowledge of Twitter, but like I at least know I didn't have to look it up in a fucking dictionary. They explained that Kaguya has like the tech knowledge of an 80-year-old man, and I'm like, how is that possible for a teenage girl to have that doesn't make sense to me, but okay.
She's an analog girl living in a digital world. That's what she is.
Yeah, apparently. But
That sounds like a song.
Yeah, basically.
And then I goes to this employee women's restroom. She wants to have this luxurious bath. And so she throws this giant like
beach chair
into this. Okay, it's like this huge onsen the size of an Olympic swimming pool. Like
yeah.
I don't know how they even made that. It doesn't make sense to me. She throws.
It's not Olympic swimming pool sized, is it? It's
big.
just like it's big though. Yeah,
it's huge.
It looked like it's how it's normally portrayed to me in anime.
But it's in like their house, which is like damn.
Yeah, it's like a.
It made me think of like the size of the public how public baths are.
Yeah, public
but
bath
it's like
size, but in their own
in their house. So like you could have
it's pretty
like
crazy.
Like I would say at least like 20 people in that bathtub. That's a huge ass bathtub.
But it was for employees, so it wouldn't be. It wouldn't.
But
it
they
would
don't
be
have
reasonable
that
that you would see like
employees.
10. They're rich. They probably got
But
20
it's only
butlers
for
each.
women. They don't have 20 women employees working in this mansion.
I don't know either.
Anyway, so
all I know is I is fucking hot.
And she like lays down on this lawn chair in the bath, and I'm just thinking like, okay, I've sat on one of those chairs with nothing between me and the chair, and that is uncomfortable. That's a weird choice. I don't know why she made that choice. That is her choice.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess so she could like lie down completely instead of like sitting down.
I guess.
So she could relax a little bit more with her head above the water. I don't know.
I don't know.
Interesting.
But Kaguya keeps bursting in and demanding that I help her with this Twitter thing. First, to make the account. And then second, like on why Miyuki's account is protected and what that means. And then in the end, Kaguya is too stubborn to request access to Miyuki's account because she thinks it looks desperate. And once again, nothing fucking happens.
I was like right there with I though when I was getting like increasingly more frustrated every time Kaguya came in and like interrupted her bath because I was like, you want to like kill Kaguya at this point.
Yeah. And then the next skit, it was a good skit.
Let me say one thing about the other skit. But I just want to say like I was happy she finally told Kaguya like how it is, like telling her like, this pattern you've been following has never succeeded once of you trying to force Miyuki to give in to you. Like, so maybe just like fucking give it up, basically, is what she gets frustrated.
Well, and they don't listen. They just keep, I don't know. Like,
they don't listen, yeah.
It's frustrating. The next skit is about Chika eating ramen. This guy is
Ramen Daisuke Kaguya-san.
Yeah, so this guy, it's like told from the perspective of this dude, and he's a quote-unquote ramen expert, and he goes into this local shop and orders the correct way instead of the special, as this is some sort of like secret that only the best people who know the way eat their ramen.
This skit is probably my favorite skit out of the entire thing.
I like this a lot.
Yeah.
I did.
I would love having a mini series of Chika eating various foods.
It would
and
be
I was
better
so
than
hungry when it was done.
Okay, so it would be
Yeah.
much better than the ramen anime that was a couple seasons ago. You remember
Yeah,
that
the
one?
Ramen Daisuke show. Yeah,
That
that's
one
that's
was
why I said this is
terrible.
like I said Ramen Daisuke Kaguya-san. I should have said Ramen Daisuke like Chika-san, I guess.
It would
but
actually be good instead
yeah.
of the piece of trash.
This was like so well animated, and like the ramen looked great. Like it reminded me a little bit of like Wakako Zake, that little short where like there's like guys commenting on how like the girl is eating her food and like her inner monologue and stuff. But yeah, it's like that in that same vein, and they did it so well. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it did kind of irritate me though because he keeps sort of looking down on her and wanting to believe that she isn't an expert or isn't good at this and doesn't know what she's doing. Like you could tell that's what he wants to believe, and it reminded me of like guys who get really like holier than thou when they're playing video games.
yeah. Gatekeeping, basically.
Yeah, it was ramen gatekeeping. That's what it was. And I was a little annoyed, and I was kind of like, stop doing this. Like, she obviously knows what she's doing. She's obviously enjoying her fucking food. Maybe eat your fucking food, dumbass. But, whatever. He has this method of eating the pieces of the ramen where, like, you know how they put the little mounds of stuff, like the seaweed in one corner and the green onions and the
ginger and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I've never had a place that gives the pickled ginger in the ramen. I'd love to do that.
It's good. I've had that before.
I still need to have ramen.
You do.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Some good ramen. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you ever come down near me, Leo, there's actually a really authentic ramen place.
You mean come up to where you are?
Yes, that's what I meant. I'm terrible. Anyway, but you know what I mean. Yeah, come up sometime and I'll show you. Anyway, okay, so yeah, he eats the pieces like individually versus Chika puts a little of everything in each bite and eats it, and it like is more time consuming. And like he had originally criticized her choice of extra firm ramen noodles because he was like, firm is the best way. She obviously is not as smart as I, ramen expert. I overestimated her. But no, it's because she knows she's going to do this thing where she puts a little of everything in each bite and it's going to take a long time. And so extra firm means it'll take longer for them to soften. Bitch. You done thought wrong, you old man.
She schooled him.
Yeah. And, he's like impressed and he's like, it reminds me of when I was a kid and I ate ramen excitedly and blah, blah. And of course, Chika is just oblivious the whole time. She's like, I don't give a fuck. I just want to eat my food, which I appreciated. It was a fun sketch.
Yeah.
It made me hungry, actually. I was like, I want ramen.
Oh, yeah.
I was really hungry by the time it was over.
But yeah, and then the next skit is really just more of Kaguya and Miyuki being idiots, and like they're both just pussies. I don't know. They both go to the school thinking they may run into the other one, but they miss each other at the school, and it's all very sad. And I'm just like, this is dumb. This is dumb.
Yeah.
So
it's like sort of setting up, though. I can see that it's like setting up the last episode of this, probably.
I guess.
And the last skit is like the first part of 2 also, so yeah.
Yeah, and then the last part was very interesting. Kaguya's dad summons her to, I think, Kyoto to see him. And it's all very, like, important and dramatic, and she has to go. But then all he does is, like, have her sit in this room with her maid, and then he walks
The show
by.
is trying to sell you on, like, how bad of an upbringing she had.
Yeah.
Like how her parents just don't even think about her at all. Like it was so jarring to me to see this. I was like, I thought this was supposed to be like a comedy show.
It was a little weird. It was very serious.
Where did this deep, dark side come from? Like, I felt like the show didn't know what it was at this point.
So I feel like it fits because she is such a clearly, like, broken person. And, like, so is Miyuki in a lot of ways. Like, their whole worldview is kind of broken. And, like, you see that she is, like, this weird person because of her father's influence and, like, his complete neglect from her and, like, how she's, like, cut herself off from everyone and, like, she doesn't feel worthy of the friends she has and she's always trying to win battles and show no weakness. And I liked that I was there next to her, like, when her father, like, walks by the room and he's like, oh, it's good you're here. And then he just keeps going. And Ai's like, that's all you wanted her here for? You like, drop dead, you asshole, is what she says.
Yeah.
Which was pretty great.
I appreciate that. But it was weird. Like, I'm not sure if that was just a family thing that they get together. And, like, I don't know how exactly she would be in a room by herself. Yeah, it was weird.
She's probably supposed to just be there for, like, obligation of some kind. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, it was sad, and it's really supposed to be a comedy show, but it was an interesting look into her life and everything.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I'm curious to see how that skit finishes off. Like, maybe it's setting up for Kage to realize, like, hey, my dad's an asshole. I don't need to be like this. I can change. But that might be a little optimistic.
No, we'll you are so in for it.
Anyway. Yeah, it does not go there at all.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
It goes in a different direction.
I'm curious.
I bet if we gave you 5 minutes, you could probably predict.
Well, but I don't want to do that.
Well, you'll know soon enough, yeah.
So, Kat, tell us about the last episode of the day, Dororo, episode 11.
Dororo, which I always want to say Dororo for some reason. I don't know.
Because it's just fun to say.
It just sounds cool, too. It sounds like you're barking, like... But... All right. So the episode starts with the crab fight from the last time that we were here. And the brother, isn't it like Tahoumaru or something? Because his...
Tahoumaru.
Tahoumaru.
Yeah. Tahoumaru.
So I know it's like the same ending as Hyakkimaru's name, but...
He's like a Chevy Tahoe, and he's got a Maru at the end.
So Tahoe, I'm just going to call him fucking Tahoe. You know what? Just stop.
I'm trying to talk to the Midwesterners, Leah. Speaking their language.
You're trying to translate it into our language for us. But yeah, Tahoumaru. I'm gonna just call him Tahoe. Whatever. He thanks him. I'm not really sure what Hyakkimaru is seeing when he looks at his brother, but it's all mixed up, I guess. Like, he stares at him for a fuck ton of time.
It's like this black and white wavy mixture, which is different than everybody else he's seen.
Yeah.
That's actually answered in the next episode.
Next episode? Okay, interesting. Because I think Daigo looks that way too, maybe. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so then Dororo gets some money from them. And he asks where the quote-unquote rich land near here is, because they've all heard of it. And they point him towards our Lord Daigo's land. So, you know, like, that's their land actually did prosper from the deal with the demon that they made. And the brother asks Hyakkimaru's name. Tahoe asks Hyakkimaru's name. And he tells them, and there's, like, this weird pause. Then, this is really interesting. There's this girl in the town, and she's singing about this demon baby. And she's got what looks like, to me anyway, like mascara or something streaked down her face. But I don't actually think it's mascara, because I'm pretty sure in ancient Japan they didn't have mascara. So
it seems like eyeliner, maybe? I don't know.
No. Think of geishas. Of course they did.
Well, they had eyeliner, but not mascara. But you're right, it could be eyeliner.
Well, they had a bunch of kind of makeup. I mean, you just think of history in general. There's lots of portrayals of women with, like, whatever, you know, the in thing was with
That's
makeup
true.
then.
Well, they had a lot of, it's just like I think the eyelash thing that I don't know if you've seen, like, the thing that women are forced to put the shit on their eyelashes on with. It's like the brush of the devil. It, like, tortures you.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like, I don't think they had that until more recently. Like, they had eyeliner and stuff, but who knows? But anyway, she's like singing about this demon baby, and she's like carrying around a fake baby, and she sees Hyakkimaru and like flips her shit, and she seems to
it's
know
not
what's
important,
going
but I think
on.
it turns out to just be like a fucking rock or something.
No,
she drops it in another
it's just
scene.
this fake
okay.
baby, but
it's not important.
Yeah, but I'm just like, ooh, this is weird. And then there's a play going on where they're like, oh, Lord Daigo, he slayed a demon, and that's why the place is so prosperous. And like everyone's clapping, and Dororo even comments like, oh, that guy is awesome, as they watch the play. And then the old man is there too to check out the buzz around the land and why it's so prosperous, and the supposedly conquered demon and all that. And he comments too that at the end, like they meet up after the play and they're like, nice to see you again. Nice to see you again too. And then he comments like, oh, Hyakkimaru, I can tell that you've killed people too now and that you better be careful. I guess his aura has like tiny little red things in it now that weren't there before.
Yeah.
And then some of the merchants are talking about this thing called Banman and how things haven't been so prosperous in the quote unquote prosperous land recently. And then Hyakkimaru's dad and mom learn that he's actually in the area, which is interesting. And then they do a lot of cutscenes here, which annoys me, as always. Hyakkimaru and Dororo go to this fort with, like, it has only one wall, so it really isn't much of a, like, barrier, really. But it's supposedly haunted by the goddess of, like, the headless goddess that the mom prays to.
Well, they said it used to be one whole wall, but then it all burned down, and it's just this one, like, spot that's left.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's somehow still preventing them from getting, like, apparently they have people on the other side that used to
It's just
attack
kind of
that land
acting
a lot.
as like a border between both sides. So,
Yeah.
like, this is where the line is.
Well, but apparently there's, like, all those ghost spirits, and that's what's holding them back now, so they don't get attacked by that other nation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming the reason they're there, it has something to do with the headless statue and, like, the mom praying to it, like some mystical bullshit is going on there. It's not really
I think
clear
it's one
to
of
me.
the demons, not the...
Well, but they
not the
say it's the
statue.
headless statue that she prays to, and that's what embodies it.
I think that makes sense with how it cracks at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
as well.
I don't really know how that would be. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know. That's what they say. Hyakkimaru looks at the wall, and to him it looks all black, like it's a demon. And they get warned to leave and that it's not safe by this boy whose village used to be, like, near where the Banman is, or the barrier, kind of. He vows that he's going to go back across the wall one day so he can, like, find his family. And this kid's name's Sukeroku, and they decide, like, okay, all three of us should cross this wall together. Then they go back to the Hyakkimaru's mom and dad, and his mom asks, like, the husband what he's gonna do, and she's like, we deserve to be punished for what we did to our son, and blah blah blah. And, like, he's like, I did it for the people, and she's like, that's bullshit, because it is. And
It is.
and his response to that is, women don't understand politics. And then he just storms off. And I'm like, what?
He's such an
Accurate for that time, though.
I mean,
Oh, not accurate at all. I bet you women actually understand politics perfectly well. They
No.
just
I
weren't
mean
allowed.
for him thinking that.
Oh, him thinking that is
No,
accurate for the
not
time.
that fucking women didn't understand.
Oh, yeah,
God
no,
damn
I
it.
was, okay,
No.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
yeah, it's just,
No,
it's
that
just
like
oh,
he
them
thought
women.
that. Accurate for that time, that was his way of thinking,
That's
is
fair.
what I mean.
Yeah, that
Jesus
would be
Christ,
that would
always
be the
whining
attitude.
and
Don't
wailing
paint me like
about,
that.
Yeah, always whining and wailing about me killing their firstborn child. God, they gotta learn to suck it up.
Yeah, right,
fuck?
exactly.
Oh my god. And back at the wall, they hear howling, and, like, all these fox spirits appear, and Hyakkimaru, like, cuts through them, but eventually they all attack him at once, and things get harder. Sukeroku's like, this is my chance, and he runs across the barrier while they fight. And Dororo's like, no, don't go alone, it's dangerous, and runs after him. And Hyakkimaru's like, oh fuck, like, all these small foxes are really just one big ass thing.
Is it a nine-tailed fox cat?
Maybe.
Oh, Jesus.
Cat,
Maybe
you know
it
what's
turns
funny, though?
into a sexy six-pack
Did you recognize
boy.
his voice?
I did not.
Did you He is Naruto.
I did not. Well,
Do not start her down this path.
okay.
We will never stop.
I know. That's pretty cool, though. Anyway, the bro Tahoe is I'm trying really hard to remember his name.
The Chevy truck.
The truck,
Chevy Tahoe.
the Chevy truck that embodies his brother. I'm just imagining a Chevy truck driving across this like ancient Japanese anime now.
He's like a rock. Ooh,
Everyone's
he's like a rock.
We don't know what that is. It just appeared one day. It drives on its own. We've never seen anything like it.
Reminds me of this game, Age of Empires. This is like a little tiny side note where they used to have a cheat code where you could get like a Dodge Cobra in the game, and then you drive around with a machine gun shooting at all these like little medieval guys.
Oh,
God.
I'm imagining like a Chevy Tahoe cheat code entering Dororo and just taking out samurai armies.
But yeah, Tahoe wants to know what happened. He meets the eyeliner woman from earlier, and like, she really seems to know like exactly what's going on. And I think you find out later, like, yeah, it's the nursemaid from when the mom birthed him and was like, get this.
Yeah.
And the dad's like, get him out of my sight. Go kill him somewhere. And she like goes, puts him in the river. So it's for her, and she just went like nuts, I guess, after. Like, she couldn't handle it. And
By the way, I said Dodge Cobra. It's a Ford Cobra. I'm an idiot. It's just Shelby Cobra. Anyway, move on.
I wasn't paying enough attention to you to correct you. Even I knew that.
And but Hyakkimaru manages to fight off a demon with the help of his dad, weirdly, because he shows up with all of his servants. And you see the monk like in a flashback, like a flash forward, like he's at the Hall of Hell, and he realized what's occurred, and he's like, this is very bad. But I'm like, that's an understatement of the century. What do you mean this is very bad? Oh my God. And then at the very end of the episode, the headless goddess statue cracks. And you're like, oh, fuck. Also, just as a side note at the very end here, since we're near Easter, it's kind of weird how many parallels there are in this series to like Hyakkimaru and like weird religious stuff from the Bible, and it kind of squicks me out because I'm not even that I don't even know that much about the Bible. Like, they drop him in the river and someone picks him up, and then like he shoulders all these other people's sins on his shoulders, and he comes back from the dead.
You mean the story of Moses?
Yeah,
I think?
like,
yeah. Well,
it's just a little weird.
What's interesting is the story of Moses is like not unique in religions. Like, there are several religions, some that predate Christianity, that have stories like this about like sending a baby down the river. Like,
okay, so it could be something from like Buddhism or even okay. It's interesting because I just noticed that and I was like, this is strange. This is very odd to me. But that would make sense then. Maybe there is something that parallels it that they're kind of going off of. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. But you can read it however you want. You know, you could relate it to Christianity. I don't necessarily think that that's what the writer of the story is doing. But
I wasn't sure if they were really trying or if it was just a weird coincidence. Like I said,
well, the show is, I guess, because they worship the demons, a little bit about religion. So he probably just borrowed a little bit from whatever he's most knowledgeable about, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Just not really being that specific.
Yeah, probably stuff from Buddhism and Shintoism and maybe Christianity.
It'd be interesting to look into it and see if there is something that they're trying to borrow from. Because it's obvious like there's something here, but I really don't know enough about Eastern religions to really know what they're trying to do. I can tell there's a lot of mystical stuff in this anime, like with the headless goddess statue and it somehow being related to the wall, and I really didn't get that. I don't think any of us did. And I kind of wonder if that has, like, I don't know.
I'm looking forward to the second half of the episode to like figure that stuff out. But I was actually kind of surprised that like we see Hyakkimaru and Daigo like not necessarily facing off, but like seeing each other like this early in the show, which is going to be a 24 episode show. Like, I was surprised. Right. Like,
well,
so I guess
it did feel like an ending.
Wait till you see the next episode, because then you're like, oh man, where are we going now? I don't know.
Because there has to be another arc after this, because it's going to end. Like, this arc is going to end in an episode or two. So like, it'll be interesting to see what they do after.
It ends next episode. Yes.
Okay. So
makes sense. So I'm very excited to see that and how they transition into the second half of the show. So anything else?
Everything?
Yeah, I think that's everything.
No, I'm good.
I think we're good. We're ready to head out. Thanks for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos. You can also find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other fucking podcast app. They're all similar. Pick one. It'll be on there. I promise. You can follow us on Twitter at Nerdom Another as well. Also, come hang out with us on Discord. The link to join is in the description. Seriously, we have fun on there. And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Later.